What can I do with this wooden board which has seen better days? I've decided to cover it with a mixture of different shapes in pink, a lovely rose pink, and some orange, yellow, and a bit of deep sort of orangey red. And this is in oil, and now I'm going to let it dry and then decide what to do. So because the board is sort of rigid, it's got ridges on it, you can see there, it's not completely smooth. I'm never going to really be able to do anything that I'll be totally happy with. So this is really just an experiment. And I've decided to paint not a rose, but a gardenia. And while the paint is still wet, I'm just going to loosely paint in the outer petals, because then I'm going to cover the background with a layer of white and leave the center to dry. Welcome to Graceful Art Designs. If you've been on my channel before, I'm glad to see you back. And if you're new, well, welcome. As you can see, I've outlined the gardenia in a kind of a white, which is already not exactly how I wanted it. It got a bit blurred there, but that really doesn't matter overall. It's a very vague shape. There's so many different gardenia shapes and so many different petal shapes, and they're so similar to roses that it's really just not really significant. Anyway, I just wanted an outline so I could cover over the background with white and leave the center for the actual flower. So that's what I'm doing now. Turning out to be a very pretty background, all these colors mixed together with white, and I almost want to just do the whole thing like this, but that really won't reveal much of a flower then. So there has to be a distinction between the flower and the background. It's very nice painting on a piece of wood, although it's just a pity it's not smooth. If it works out, I will repeat it on a clean canvas. But there, those colors have really blended together beautifully. So that leaves the flower in the center. The background has blended into a very lovely, pretty mixture of yellow, red, and orange and pink, and the white. And now I'm going to leave it to dry, and when the center is dry, then I will define it into more of a flower. I decided that after looking at endless photos of gardenias, some look like roses, some look like frangipani, some look like hydrangeas. It's really hard to say exactly what a gardenia looks like. It depends on the variety. So I decided I'm going to paint a gardenia just outlined in white. I'm going to put them, unlike the rose, which has this tight little, center core of petals and then opens up gradually. The gardenias seem to have sometimes, but not always, a tiny little center core of petals, but sometimes they just open up immediately. It's like a star shape, and they just go round and round, and then there's only a couple of layers, and some have this center which has quite a few layers, and then like a six-pointed star shape, very pointy flowers. I didn't want that. So what I want is, I want the way it opens up like a star in one layer over the other, but without the center looking like a rose. So that's what I'm going to do. And it's almost like, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to cover the white over these petals unless I can do it with a very thin layer of white, just like a glaze. The painting's not completely dry yet. It's taken a long time to dry. So, like, some of the petals that I've seen have been really quite jagged, and some have been quite smooth. So this one, I'm going to do them quite smooth. I don't like the jagged look. But, each flower has its own beauty. So let's see if I can get this right. It's really going to be just two layers and with a little center. That's the shape I have created, and it's almost like a pinwheel petals aren't all exactly the same size, or even, very tidy. Some of them, they look like quite messy flowers compared to a rose. So I haven't done too many layers. I've done about 3 layers, I think so, but it's not exactly the same all around. And I've left space for the leaves. So now I'm going to coat this with, dilute the white in a lot of oil and just do a thin layer of oil so that these colors are still visible. And interesting result. I've got a lot of the brush marks from the brush in the painting, being a wooden board. Well, I'm not sure if it's kind of got a coating which looks like wood, and it feels quite solid, but I don't know if it's real wood. But anyway, this is how it's turned out. And so now I'm going to add some leaves, and I'm going to do quite big, leathery looking leaves, they say. So much bigger than the rose leaves and much more leathery looking. And obviously the leaves are not all going to be the same. Some will be bigger than others. And I will do another layer of white around the edges because it's very, with all that oil, it was just too wet to really make a nice defined outline. That's my gardenia. I've added in the leaves with an emerald green and a bit of yellow over them, just a slight touch. And now I'm going to, and I did that with the filbert brush. Now I'm going to add the white outlines, although it might be too early. The painting has taken days to dry and it's still not even dry properly, but I've decided that I really don't like it because the photo I saw originally, which I now can't find as it always happens, the petals were more sort of like a spiral. And so I'm going to redo them, and this time a different white. It's zinc white. And so it's supposed to be useful for painting water and things that you want to look transparent. I'm just going to go over those petals in this concentric way and see if I can change it and improve it. It's probably not clear from one layer, but I'm going to carry on. I'm going to leave that to dry. In the meantime, I'm going to add another layer of sap green to the leaves, and they're going to follow the direction of these petals in this shell, I would say like a shell shape, where the petals go, they kind of overlap, but in this roundabout way. So rather than in the traditional rose-shaped direction. So this is rather diluted sap green, and let's just see if it makes a difference. So anyway, you can't have the leaves being all one color. And I may go over some of the white because the petals didn't have to be that long. I do like the effect of the zinc white. It definitely has the sort of transparent look that I wanted. And the whole flower has become much smaller because I've added on a lot more different colored layers of leaves, all different greens. And now I'm taking the ordinary titanium white, and I'm using it to make, with the angled brush, I'm using it to make smaller petals and another layer of petals in this sort of concentric snail-shaped design. Maybe it's too wet still. I think it's too wet. So I'm finally getting the effect that I wanted in the form of a spiral-shaped flower. That's the flower that I saw. I mean, there are many gardenia photos that I looked at, but that was the one that I liked the most and that I wanted to try to paint. And so you can see there, I've added in small layers of titanium white over the zinc white to make the outlines and to make them more distinctly in a spiral shape, starting with the inner layer and then going out. And now I'm going to just drag the inner layer of the leaves, I'm going to just cover it with white, and so that the petals are kind of just blending into the leaves, if that makes more sense. And see what the effect of that will be. And then overall, I think that's the look I wanted. And perhaps once it's dry, I will have to do another layer to outline the petals more distinctly. The painting is not quite dry yet. It's probably going to take a few days, so I'm just going to soften the lines, because I can see that where I use this angled brush to make the outlines, and it kind of made a double line, so I'm just going to paint away some of the lines where there's a double line. But it does seem like the outlines are staying, even though the paint was so wet when I did it. So I might just leave it, but I think another glaze of white would help to get the right colour. It's still looking too pink. I wasn't happy where the painting was going, and so I carried on searching for a photo that would look similar to the original one that I had seen. And I found this one, which was called a gardenia bush. Well, I can't show you the photo, it's on Google. But essentially it shows the central petals in a spiral shape, and not that many of them, but sort of very tightly together around the center bud. And then an outer layer of big, very loose petals. So that they weren't even as clearly defined as some of them had sort of rough edges and jagged edges and folded over edges. So this is as close as I can get. But what I did was I put a layer of spiral leaves around the flower to add to that spiral look. And that's essentially what I saw in the original photo, which I now can't find. So a spiral-shaped gardenia, and I think it's very pretty. But like I said, they come in so many different shapes, some so similar to roses that you really can't tell the difference. And I didn't want to produce another rose, so I really wanted a spiral-shaped gardenia. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry I didn't show you this part, but it was essentially taking what I had before. I left that center part, and then I just added on these big loose outer petals. Thank you for watching. Please like and comment. Bye for now.